Let's take a look at evaluating functions using the table method on a TI-82 calculator. Let's take a look at our first problem here. I got f of x is equal to 3x minus 4, and we want to find f of 2. Okay, let's go to our calculator, and I press my y equals, press my clear out whatever's on there. Then I put in 3x minus 4. Now I'm going to double check my calculator and make sure that the table setup is correct. So I'm going to do a second window. And you see where it says independent, yours should say ask. If yours doesn't say ask, down arrow to that line, right arrow, put your flashing cursor on ask and press enter one time. And now we're going to go to our table, so we do second graph. You may or may not have numbers here. If you got them, you can delete them by pressing delete. Now if they do not appear to be deleting, that's because you didn't set your ask. So go back to your second window table setup and set it. Now we're evaluating this. We're going to plug 2 in for x. So we put 2 for the x and press enter. And you see it gives us y is equal to 2. So that's our answer. Now our second problem. We got f of x is equal to x squared minus 4 over x plus 3. And we want to find f of 7. Now remember, the trick to entering in fractions on your calculator is if you got more than a number or a single variable on top or bottom, you have to put parentheses around that part. So as we plug this in, we'll put parentheses on top, parentheses around the bottom. Other than that, you enter it as you see it. So I'm going to go back to my y equals, do a clear, I do a beginning parentheses, my x key, then my x squared, minus 4, closing parentheses, divided by, beginning parentheses, x plus 3, closing parentheses. And now we want to go to our table, so do second graph, and we want to put 7 in. So do 7, and then press enter. And that gives us 4.5. Now, that's our answer, but you see a problem there is it's not in fraction form. And from the table here, I know of no way to change that to a fraction. Let me do it by hand and show you what it should be, so we can figure out by looking at that. Okay, so we're going to put 7 in for the x. So I got 7 squared minus 4 over 7 plus 3, which gives us 49 minus 4 over 10. 45 over 10, and top and bottom both divided by 5, and that gives me 9 halves. So that's what our answer should be. So there is a little bit of problem when you're using the table, is you can't get your exact values. You get a decimal approximation, which might be fine. Now there's one last thing I want to point out. I discovered this when I was creating an earlier video on a TI-82, which I thought was very interesting. Of course, I don't got much of a life, but I had something that, I don't know, look like that. When you plug that into your calculator, if you got a mixture of a fraction and x to a power, make sure when you plug it in, you put parentheses around the 1/3. Otherwise, you will not get the right answer when using this table method. So to put that in, what I would do, I'd go back to my y equals, clear, do a beginning parentheses, 1 divided by 3, closing parentheses, then my x key, then my x squared, plus x, minus 5. You do not have to do that on other models of the Texas Instruments, but TI-82 does not handle order of operations quite like it should. Now if I do a second graph and come over to the table here, if I put in like 3 for example, and press enter, we get 1. Because if I put 3 in here, 3 squared is 9, divided by 3 is 3, plus 3 is 6, minus 5 is 1. Now let me go back to y equals. Let me get rid of the parentheses. And now I'll go second graph, go back to the table. This gives us the wrong answer. You have to have the parentheses there if you have a fraction next to x to a power. Or maybe even more generally if you have fraction next to anything. then you'd need to put parentheses around a fraction like that. Now to exit out, we'll do second mode, and that's using the table method to evaluate functions on a TI-82 calculator.